Welcome back to another video here with Discover Dunwoody. We always like to talk to brand new people that'll teach us something new, either about an industry we're interested in or even Dunwoody. If you know someone that you think we should talk to, don't forget, you can send us an email, info@discoverdunwoody.com, and we will track them down and get them here on the set. Today, we are going to talk about the film industry, and we have a great guest to do that. Our guest today is Craig Miller. He's the executive producer at Craig Miller Productions, and I also think you're the owner. The place is named after you.
That's right. It's a way to get your name out there. Somebody told me originally when I was forming my company, they said, well, Craig, they know you as Craig Miller. If you become Black Hat Productions or, Crazy Dog or whatever, that you're going to have to create a whole new brand.
Yeah.
You've already got a little brand with Craig Miller. Work it,
Stick
so
to that.
Good.
I love it. Well, certainly makes it easier to find that name. You didn't have to worry about that too much. Although I kind of like, some sort of dog productions.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Would it be DAWG Productions?
It definitely would, because I'm definitely a DAWG.
So that's a great transition, because you and I talked about how you got into the industry.
Sure.
And you went to Georgia. So tell me about that experience.
So it was ages ago. I had sort of grown up in community theater in Columbus, Georgia at the Springer Opera House, and got interested enough that I went to a couple of years of summer stock and came back from summer stock to start my college career at Georgia. And I was a theater major. And I kind of looked around and watched what was going on, and I said, I don't know that I can make a lifetime career out of this.
So you don't think you were going to get rich?
I wasn't Tom Cruise material, So I started looking around, and I became a disc jockey in the graveyard period, midnight to 6.
Okay, all right.
Doing disc jockey work on radio, and I said, I like this.
Yep.
This is fun. This is kind of like acting.
Sure.
So I switched. So I switched majors. I became a journalism major, and radio, TV, film was what they called mass communications back then, and that's where I plugged in. And it was great because I continued doing radio, but then I learned the film aspect and the television aspect of it, and that set me up to head off into my career.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, you do have a radio voice, so I can see that could have been a career for you too. You could have stuck in radio.
There you go.
Although I hear that you don't make a lot of money in radio.
Right. That's kind of like theater.
Well, you've been doing this for 38 years,
Right.
and you're the past president of Georgia Production Partnership. What is, and we all affectionately around here call that GPP.
Right.
Tell us about that. What is that?
So Georgia Production Partnership was founded about 27 years ago. It was company heads that were involved in production in film and TV, and they wanted to come together to improve the opportunities to make films in Georgia.
Okay.
And so we operated for about
Was this before the incentive came in?
long before.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
like
right.
back in the 90s.
All right. So
Yeah.
this is really much earlier
Much
before
earlier.
Georgia started.
Yeah.
This whole, okay.
So we studied things. We had members that were part of the union, so we had
Okay.
representation across the whole board.
Good.
And by really the critical date was 2012.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Let's start again. 2008. 2008.
2008. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And in 2008, we were able to advocate at the legislature to get a bill that introduced a film incentive in Georgia.
Wow.
And it was well thought out. Okay, so it wasn't just we're giving money away and hoping you come to the industry here in Georgia.
Which
Which some people do. I mean,
Yeah, but I could see legislatures getting a little tired of giving away money.
Yes, exactly. And it's tax dollars.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
So in 2008, we passed the Georgia Film Incentive Act, Entertainment Act, and what that did was this. It set up a 20% tax rebate for films that shot in Georgia. The critical thing was that it shot in Georgia.
A rebate.
It's
So it's real dollars.
It's tax credits.
Okay. All right.
It is a little different.
Yeah.
But,
It is,
but,
yeah.
but we had a great plan
Sure.
that we worked through.
20%.
The legislature.
That's huge.
20%. So if you're doing $1 million film,
Yep.
you're going to get back $200,000.
Holy moly.
You know, now we added a little uplift that
Yep.
you could take advantage of,
Okay.
which was a Georgia Peach, animated Georgia Peach logo.
Yep.
And if you were willing to put the animated Peach logo in your credits at the end of the movie, then you got another 10%.
Wow.
So
you
now
can get
you're
30.
Yeah. So now if you're doing $1 million film, now it's $300,000.
Wow.
Now think about if you're doing a Marvel movie that's $150 million.
That adds up.
That adds up big time.
Yeah.
So, but then there's a question. It's like you got a tax credit. Your tax credit is a credit against your Georgia taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, big film companies, which is what the incentive is set up to attract, they come in and, you know, they're going to pay some taxes, but they're not going to have, you know, that kind of tax.
Right.
So they're stuck with all these credits. Well, they made it possible, the legislature made it possible for you to sell the credits one time.
Interesting.
So if you have a credit, you can take it to a broker, you can deal directly if you want to, but you can sell your credit. And you think, well, yeah, but then how much is the company in Georgia that has the tax liability getting back, and how much is the filmmaker getting back?
Right.
So it took a year or so for us to build up credibility that we were a great credit to purchase.
Huh.
So when we achieved that, then we had big companies like Southern Company, like Coca-Cola, guys that were very wealthy that wanted to buy credits against all their diverse projects that they had going on. And you say, well, how much would they pay for that? And so initially, I would tell you, and always a safe conservative number is 85 cents on the dollar.
Okay.
So the filmmaker was getting 85 cents on the dollar, and the guy that was buying the credits getting 15% off his tax credit, his tax
So
liability.
you save money.
So he's saving money.
right.
Yeah. So they worked. Well, we got all the way up until we reached the pandemic. And there weren't many films produced during the pandemic
Right.
because we all shut down.
Sure.
You know. Well, as we came out of the pandemic, the credits became a really hot commodity. We did a movie not a big movie, but a $3 million movie back in 2021, right at the end of the coming out of the pandemic.
Sure.
And the credits were selling then for 95 cents on the dollar.
Wow.
So it was great for the producer. Now, these credits, they're proven. They are credits that people want to purchase. Wow. And there's a great system set up to make sure that your credit's worth something.
Yeah.
And there is, due diligence done by the Department of Revenue to make sure that, things that don't fall under the credit are not charged through and then the state's taking advantage
Right,
of. Because
right.
you want it to be fair to the state.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. And I did not know this. I did not know that you could build a bank of these credits and sell them. I was wondering how that became so worthwhile for filmmakers.
Exactly.
So you have, I'm going to kind of shift gears.
Sure.
Back to you.
Go any way you want.
You have done a lot of work in the industry. What are some of the examples of the projects you're most proud of?
So there's one project that was sort of a tragedy, but it was a really unique project.
Okay.
So we were Singular, which is what is now AT&T Mobility.
Oh my gosh.
Was based here in
I remember
Georgia.
their logo.
Yes, they kind of flat.
Yeah,
exactly.
I remember that logo.
So the PR director, the vice president of public relations was there, and sort of like we're experiencing right now, there was a hurricane that was headed toward the Gulf.
Yep.
And they were really worried. And so they called me and said, we think this hurricane is going to wipe us out, and that's really bad. because what do people count on when they're in? They need phones.
They need their phones to work.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
because it's emergent. Well, this hurricane was called Katrina. It was a big, nasty hurricane.
Yeah.
So we got the call. They said, we need you to go to New Orleans and we need you to document how we're doing. So it was a challenge. It wasn't easy. The luckiest thing that happened to us was that all of the buses that people could take to rent to go and cover it for the news or the Weather Channel or whatever were gone, except for one. Gwen Stefani had been here in Atlanta on a tour stop.
Yeah.
And her tour stopped because of the
It was,
hurricane.
yeah.
So we rented her bus.
Wow.
And drove it to New Orleans, actually to Slidell, and then I had done some work for the Weather Channel.
Okay.
So I'm in my Weather Channel jacket with my patch on and everything, and we pull up to the 5 Mile Bridge and say, "Hey, we need to get into New Orleans." And they said, "Do you need a police escort?" And we said, "Sure." So here we go across the bridge and into and we were at the heart of where the storm had hit.
Good thing you saved that jacket.
Oh, exactly. I still have that jacket.
Yeah.
It's a good luck piece.
Yeah, and it's okay to impersonate somebody from the Weather Channel. You just don't do that with a cop's
No, right.
Well,
Not very often. But
So you get into the city, and even when you get in, it was a mess.
we ran into this gentleman who was saving people off of rooftops.
Wow.
And he on an airboat, big fan in the back.
Sure.
And we took our crew, and he said, "Look, I got a couple of more runs I got to make, but before it gets dark, I'll run you into the Superdome." So literally, we're out west of, we're inside the proper metro area of New Orleans, but he takes us in. And I go back to New Orleans today, and I look up like 12 feet, and I say,
That's where the water was.
"Yeah, I was on this road. That's where the water was."
Wow.
But all of the cellular towers had gotten knocked out because the power bases were at the bottom of the tower.
Sure.
When the levees gave way, it cut everything off.
Yeah.
And so they had gotten the Teamsters to help them out, and they had pulled every generator they could find on the East Coast and set up a home base just outside of New Orleans. And they had people that would run in when the water got low enough or when they could get the generator high enough to reactivate the cell tower and return service.
So they're basically, they were taking those generators and attaching them to the middle of the tower above
Right,
the water.
above the water. It was
And then you got to go by and put some gas in them
Oh
too
yeah,
to keep them running.
exactly. Keep them running.
Oh,
It was amazing.
Oh, that's good. There are so many things that are happening in Georgia in the film industry. And before we started to talk on camera today, you shared a little bit about how the industry is changing in Georgia and how Georgia's becoming really ground zero for what's going on in the film industry. Share some of that, because I'd love for everybody to hear that.
Sure. Back in 2008, there was one soundstage in Atlanta, in the state of Georgia. And that soundstage was down in Sonoya. There was maybe 1 or 2 films that were produced a year here in Georgia.
Okay.
Today, because of the film incentive, there are roughly 50 films or TV shows shooting in Georgia all the time, nonstop.
Unbelievable.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And these aren't small films. This is major television. This is Marvel Comics, the big, huge projects. And we're talking about, something between $100 million and $200 million productions and bigger.
So, and these $100 and $200 million projects, they're being shot soup to nuts in Georgia, or will they shoot other locations?
They can be. So if you go see Baby Driver is like a big commercial for the city of Atlanta.
Absolutely.
You could just go and check every location you ever wanted to shoot in.
Including Dunwoody.
That's good, including Dunwoody.
Yep.
But most projects are shot on stages. And so they started building. So when you see a Marvel Comics and there's, Captain America charging through rubble and all of that, sure, it's green screen or set pieces, but it's on a stage here in Georgia.
Wow. Okay.
And all of the major studios shoot here, which is a great thing. Then you add to that people like Tyler Perry that have their own production center, their own distribution, and are working all of that at the same time. So now, remember we started with one. Sound stages are usually about 30,000 square feet of free span space, no columns or anything in between. And you can build them from scratch, or you can retrofit warehouses to make that work. Today, there are right at 5 million square feet of stage space in Atlanta. There are over 20 studios and over 120 sound stages. So it has built a business. And here's what's the important part of how that works, is that Georgia did it right. 38 states have some sort of film incentive.
Right.
And we're beating them out, okay? But the real trick...
Is it because our incentive is better?
No. There are states that have a better incentive.
Yeah.
But ours is very reliable, so you can start there.
All right.
But the exciting part of it is that we did it the right way. We started with an incentive. Get the business to come to Georgia, okay? We built brick and mortar. So we now have all this space, and by the end of 24, we'll exceed the space that they have in Los Angeles to shoot movies.
So we'll have more space than anybody? Any other state?
In the United States,
okay, all right.
yes.
Wow, okay.
And then what we did was we started educating Georgians. Because yes, initially, to get movies done, they had to bring in a lot of people from Los Angeles, from New York, from other places. But Georgia went at it strongly. They started educating, and there were actually a school that was developed, the Georgia Film Academy, to put Georgians to work. Because what do we care about in Georgia? And what do incentives drive?
Jobs.
Jobs. That's the
got the
total
jobs.
answer.
Yeah.
And there are other things like, hey, Dunwoody will benefit from tourism because Baby Driver was shot here. You could say, come stand in the Baby Driver location.
What we think we're going to really benefit from is Assembly Atlanta. Right?
Exactly.
And so
Totally.
Assembly Atlanta,
New stage, new studio.
It's 12 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
So we are very close to Assembly Atlanta, and we think all our hotels are going to do well.
I was going to say, y'all have great hotels and great restaurants.
Yeah,
and that's what people that come into town want to see.
Yeah, and this is part of that whole, that incentive on how is it impacting. And you could say, okay, we're putting all these people to work in the film industry,
Right.
which is great. But now, in Dunwoody, and we're really focused on putting people to work. That's our
Right.
number one goal. Now we're going to see more restaurant servers. We're going to see more housekeepers, actually called room cleaners. We're going to see more front office agents. We're potentially even see more hotels,
Right.
Because we'll see that demand.
That traffic, yes.
And then you talk about tourism, right? We're not a tourist destination typically here in Dunwoody, right? We are a great business community. Got lots of businesses. We have lots of restaurants and shopping, but a lot of companies are based here. What's interesting is when Assembly Atlanta gets up and running and they open their public component, people will be able to show up. And I think this is really smart. Assembly Atlanta is doing this. They're creating that public piece where I can go on site and I can see where things were shot.
Exactly.
And that's only going to help us out even more. It's
and
terrific.
It's just beautiful. They do a really good job on Instagram and Facebook and things like that, promoting the Assembly, which is this beautiful NBC Universal facility located. It's right near the MARTA, so it's easy transportation in and out. It's right at the crux of the perimeter, so that's again easy to get to, and they're beautiful stages. I went on a tour the other day, and they're just fabulous. So, look them up. They're great.
And it's amazing to me that this is going to create, and I've heard some other folks in GPP have shared with us that in next year, we will have more productions going on in the state of Georgia than any other place in the world. You know, you say 50 a day? That's just
a lot.
Incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
So really exciting times.
Yeah.
And you did a lot of that work at the beginning with GPP to get the incentive in place, and now it's really maintaining that incentive, which is an important part.
Sure.
I'm sure.
So one of the things that we really call on, that if you're impacted by the film incentive, if you have someone in your family that's working a job, if you have if there are locations that are shot in your neighborhood, if it's a positive experience, let your legislator know, because even to today, because 38 states have incentives, it's a competitive world, and we want movies here, and we want to keep building that base. Now, we're dealing with the crisis of both the SAG-AFTRA strike and the Writers Guild strike right now, which impacts all those other people that are working.
Right.
But watch what happens when they get all of that work stuff taken care of.
It will be solved, right?
It will be solved. It will probably take another couple of months, but it will get solved, and all those people will be back at work, and all those people will be making money, spending money, living their lives in Georgia.
Sure.
And that's what we like, and we need our legislators to know that. So reach out to them and tell them how important the film industry is, and the incentive is to keep that production going in Georgia.
Oh, I just think it's terrific. Well, there's so many great things that we can talk about, and we have run out of time, but I love what you've shared with us today.
Well, thank you.
Share with our audience how folks can find you.
We're located right at the intersection of I-85 and North Druid Hills Road. We have great facilities. We have 7 edit bays, so we do a lot of editing.
Wow.
We're connected to an audio facility, which is one of the best in the state of Georgia, with great engineers. We're creative, and we love to take people's messages out. We do corporate work, we do commercial work, we do film and entertainment. We're a great production services company, and we'd love to work with you.
That's great.
Yeah.
Where can they find you? We're online or
Oh yeah,
other?
online at craigmiller.tv, and you can call us. Pick up the phone and just have a conversation with us. 404-316-5346.
Well, and he is right at the intersection of 85 and North Druid. Well, that's just where AHOA's coming in. They're building that massive new hospital.
Exactly, it's
in
gorgeous.
that area.
It's become the second medical center, of Atlanta.
A new Pill Hill, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Craig, thanks for joining
very
us
much.
today. We
Enjoyed it.
appreciate
It was
it.
great
Yes,
fun.
great info.
Yeah.
For you folks, thanks for watching. We always appreciate it when you spend time at sharing it with us here at Discover Dunwoody. Our show is produced by Madison Holtz. Our sound technician is Emily Inser Gibson. We would love for you to pick up your Dunwoody sticker. So we have our Dunwoody stickers all over town. Oh, and I love that, sharing the logo. I think it's awesome. So Dunwoody stickers are all over town. They're at City Hall or at the library, or you're welcome to come right here to our offices, and we'd love to give one to you. On behalf of the Discover Dunwoody team, thanks for watching. Be sure to follow us on our social media channels, and that is at Discover Dunwoody. So at Discover Dunwoody, you'll be able to find us everywhere, or check out our website, discoverdunwoody.com. And we have a brand new film section on the website you should go check out as well. Until next time, enjoy the day and come Discover Dunwoody.